theme music to get hyphy up in her.
Up in her.
Dude.
Hey,
Hello. Hello.
that's good.
Yeah, and we've got a good picture to go up on the Twitter feed along with it.
Sweet. It feels like we should like segue from that theme music right into the show, but I guess I need the
Um,
tick tick ticks.
well, you know what? No, you don't, because you can like, if you're into starting to do that, then I say we start doing it, man. Like
Oh,
we
yeah,
can
we
make
could
it
talk
happen.
about.
We can make this happen. I'm ready to push go on hard mode when it comes
All
to the
right,
show.
let's do it.
All right, well, hang on. I just want to tweet this picture real quick of us rocking out. By the way, nice Gwyneth Paltrow. What was that, Emma?
Awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's
Oh,
both
and what is that
Truly.
thing that you were talking into?
That was
Bluetooth?
that's a network wireless receiver.
Okay,
It's
and
like you
network
could. So yeah,
wireless receiver.
why are you writing that
Receiver
down?
work. Because I got a tweet. Find out. You got to retweet this, by the way.
All right. Sorry for those in the live chat here. We're gonna be starting a video game podcast show soon, in which we will not answer any questions because we're really annoying that way until the end of the show. But if you want to talk about video games or listen to us talk about the week in games, that's what we're going to do in a few. I'm here with podcasting legend Bo Schwartz,
Legend, not even close.
uh,
All
known
right,
for
but
the core,
here you go.
Scott Johnson.
Retweet that crap.
Retweet it on the EXM.
No,
Uh,
I tweeted out on EXM. Just retweet it on your Crofton Steers.
My Crofton steers.
Yeah, put your Crofton Steers away. No one want to see that.
All right, I will do that.
Yeah.
And then we're good to go.
Yeah, I'm good. Tick tick ticks are inbound.
Okay, just
As soon
hang
as
on
you're
one
done
second.
retweeting. God,
I
it's
am
taking you
going
so
to
long.
do.
So slow.
Do 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 do
Do you like that
do.
picture?
Okay. Exclamation mark. Okay. Boom. Excuse me. So
That's a
All
definite
right.
caption. This picture, I like it. All right, let's do this thing. We're making a show that is often referred to as a podcast. It's not often referred to because we still don't have a lot of listeners, but we're working on it. So we meet every week in the hopes that Kevin Costner was right, because good-looking people got to be right like a lot of the time. Because how did they get good-looking? Kevin
It's true.
Costner. All right, my hero, Kevin Costner. This is dedicated to you, Crofton. The tick tick ticks are coming. Ready to go?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the Exclamation Mark podcast, the only podcast that comes with all the season pass DLC upon pre-order. I am Crofton Steers, the leader on this starship voyage of adventure that we are embarking upon into the galaxy of gaming unknown. With me, as always, is the Spock to my Kirk, Bo Schwartz. Bo, welcome.
Why, hello there, EXM listeners. Hello, Crofton. Thank you for the wonderful intro and for making the bed for me. This is great stuff. What a great starship. Thank you for docking on our spaceship.
Yep, no, that's I tell you, I'm a great captain. I treat everybody, all the crew members, with sufficient amount of respect. I make them feel very comfortable. Everybody's nice and at ease, have great beds set up, and then as soon as we get away from port, I tell everybody that it's a nude starship and we start the orgy. A lot of people get uncomfortable with that, but I boldly go where no captain has gone before.
You know what? I only got uncomfortable for the first 10 minutes, but once the orgy started happening, I was thinking less about being nude and more about the beauty of lovemaking and the beauty of being in space, in zero-G space docking, that I was just forgot all about it. So we encourage you to lift off your inhibitions and join Master Boatswain Captain Extraordinaire Steers on his spaceship of love. All right, this is going completely off the rails.
That spaceship of love will now be docking into the gaming news station. Before it does, though, we want to just a couple of housekeeping elements that we would like to discuss this week. First, I'd like to apologize to listeners for continuously being sick. I blame my shitty immune system and my daughter, infant daughter.
Continue. I'm sorry.
So I got a runny nose. I'm gonna try and monitor myself so I don't sound disgusting. Just fair warning here. I'm still sick. So that aside, I want to also bitch about my day. So as you guys may remember from a previous episode where I mentioned I was going to buy this sweet Alienware PC. Well, it turns out that it was supposed to be delivered today, and I got a sweet little message from Dell. And by message, I mean I had to go onto Dell's website and check on the status myself, and nobody notified me to find out that the delivery date had been pushed back not a week, not even a month, but 2 months to November 23rd. Needless to say, I flipped my top because that's a long time in both my gaming life and in terms of anything being delivered. I have the worst luck with ordering stuff over the internet.
So pretty unreasonable. It's almost as unreasonable as immigrants trying to get into Europe having to wait till 2020 to have their application reviewed. It's on the same level. I'm just kidding.
I would say it's more unreasonable than that. But it was really I was pissed. So I spent a lot of my day today trying to navigate Dell customer support. I've canceled I've canceled my computer order, and so I am without a gaming computer. If you have recommendations that's not a Dell and not an HP, I would be interested in hearing them.
Check out Doghouse Systems. Their ads are everywhere, but I think they're actually a pretty reputable company.
We will talk about this offline, as they say in tech speak.
In case I have any secrets I don't want to divulge to the listeners, you guys are not allowed to know.
That's true. We could talk about it in the what's that swanky lounge that they always had conversations in the next generation?
10 Forward.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, 10 Forward.
That is the nerdiest name. Anyway, we'll talk in 10 backward. So I just wanted to have my little rant. I was also curious, we talked last week about your podcasting course, how that went. Did you enjoy it?
It was quite fun. I had someone that I hadn't seen from high school actually come and attend the class, which was kind of cool. So we got to catch up, and we had some people who really knew what they wanted to do for a podcast, some people who had never done it before. And we had, you might know the name Kathy Donovan. She's like, as she described it, I've been in broadcasting for 100 years, and I'm like, why is my noob ass teaching you when you like have clearly a long and storied history in broadcasting? I've met you as a kid. I told her that. I was like, what, and she's like, well, I want to do I have some projects I want to do, and I'd like to learn podcasting. So it was awesome. It was a lot of fun teaching people, being like, but I'm just a scrubby guy who does this stuff in his apartment, so it's like, it's funny.
I think that goes to show you that's the new frontier, to continue the Star Trek analogy. Like we are at the age now where the traditional broadcast journalists, especially those who've been in the business a long time, are looking to things like live streaming. They're looking to stuff like even Twitch, YouTube, and definitely podcasting as like the future, and it's the grubby guys in their apartment like you that are on the cusp of that. And so kudos on her for actually having a slice of humble pie and sitting down and listening to Bo deliver his magic podcast producing advice, because Bo, for those who don't know, does the music on this show. He does the music on GBB, on Core. He does all the editing of Good, Bad, or Bullshit, and this show, the Exclamation Mark. Like, I mean, there's a lot of work there. So, I mean, when people ask if I would teach a course on podcasting, I say my course would be short. It would be ask Bo what to do and then show up and record.
Yeah, well, thank you, Crofton. And I actually realized that what I do, there's a lot more to it that entails what I do in terms of teaching people than what 2 hours can fill. So we're looking at doing podcasting 102 sometime in the future. And I guess I just give a thank you to the Westboro Brainery for the opportunity. I think it's kind of a cool idea to have very affordable, short learning sessions available for people. I think it's a cool idea, and there's actually some other really interesting things there. So if you're in the Ottawa area, check it out, and maybe they have something like it in your city.
Yeah,
or, on a Saturday you can take a 2-hour course and learn something cool.
So moving on to games now. Game season is in full swing. We are now in October, and I mean, like, September, October, November, for as long as I can remember, has been the main event in terms of video games. So I guess let's move into some of the news, and some of the news is about recent releases and upcoming stuff in a section we like to call planetreadme.txt.
Readme.txt.
All right, this is where we, Bo and I, switch back and forth with some news stories, stuff we saw this week that's interesting to us in the world of gaming. Bo, you want to start me off?
Yeah, Half-Life 3.
Confirmed!
Not on VR, confirmed.
Oh.
So, this is an amazing article, simply because the desire for Half-Life 3 will not die, and it will never die. Some very irritating, I imagine he's an irritating person, sorry if you're listening and this offends you, but asked a Valve guy, hey, is Half-Life 3 going to be on VR? And the guy responded very irritated, no.
Was he just trolling him? It feels like that Valve has got their own VR. I would think this would make sense, like for Valve to try and differentiate themselves in the VR market from the competitors. Be like, hey, the competitors don't have Half-Life 3, bitches, and then drop the mic.
Nope, he said no, super irritatedly. So the reporter asked a second time. He asked a second time, will Half-Life 3 be on VR? And he said, no, it's not. And as a result, we now know that Half-Life 3 is not on VR. But they didn't say the thing that we expected them to say, which was, there's no Half-Life 3. By saying no twice, there's this implicit idea that Half-Life 3 exists. And then
it'd be so ridiculous if there was never any Half-Life 3. Like, that would just be so stupid.
These are the kinds of questions Ace, like, what's that Ace lawyer guy that has a video game? What's his name? There's a
who?
Attorney at law or whatever. Ace something. I don't know. But there's
Ace Ventura?
no, that video game. Objection. What's that game?
Ace
Anyways,
Attorney.
Ace Attorney.
Yeah, what's the
I
guy's
want to
name?
say
Phoenix Wright.
Okay. So anyways, it's the kind of line of questioning that might trick out some truth, right? If you're like, does Half-Life 2 on VR? It's like, no, Half-Life 3 is not in VR. And there's no Half-Life, or whatever. So
Half-Life
yeah,
3
Harvey
confirmed.
Birdman's a good example as well. Harlequin Mayhem in the chat room says, and yeah, that's what we're looking for. So all that to say is, do you think maybe this guy made a mistake and that there's a Half-Life 3, or
I think there is a Half-Life 3. I think it's been in backburn development at Valve for, I want to say, since the end of time, at least since, the past few years. I had sort of felt that they were going to use it to sell their VR. So this is interesting to me. But we'll see. I feel from the time they announce to the time that it releases, there'll be a big gap. I think we're still far away. We're still far away from it.
Yeah.
But my interest level in Half-Life has never been as high as everybody else's, so I'm not overly concerned.
Picture a future. Let's say you're 80 and you've seen gaming from birth to death, and you still haven't seen Half-Life 3. You gonna be kind of sad about that? Like, are you gonna say, you know what, Game Newell, fuck you, or Valve, like, screw you guys for seriously making a really great game and not doing anything, like just letting it die? Like, I do feel like they have to. I feel like they should. I feel like it's their legacy.
Yeah, maybe. I think that they've always held back based on the fact that they thought that they could never. There had to be a reason for it to exist. Like when 2 came out, the gravity gun was a big new piece of tech, all the physics and all that. I mean, they probably had great creative mojo cooking back then. If they don't have, when Portal came out, it was the same deal. They had something innovative to introduce. So I really thought it was going to be VR and in a first person shooter cohesively together. But if they're saying not, anyway, I believe Half-Life 3 will be out in the next couple of years, but I don't care about it that much. So
all right, well, let's move on. You got an interesting story to talk about.
So here's a game I have been following kind of with high level of interest, as I think a lot of people have, because it made so much damn crowdfunding money. I'm talking about Star Citizen. Chris Roberts, the Wing Commander guy, biggest Kickstarter project of all time, has raised like $90 million or something on Kickstarter. And so I guess The Escapist, which is a prominent UK-based video game magazine, did a profile on the development of Star Citizen and supposedly spoke to employees of Chris Roberts' company, Cloud Imperium Games, and they were essentially saying a lot of negative things, amongst which that he was so out of touch with game development that they had blown all the money and had barely developed anything, and that he and his wife were using a lot of the money for like vacations and stuff like this. It seemed very much like a sketchy story to begin with, but they also, The Escapist, rushed it to publication without essentially getting comment from Chris Roberts and his company. And they were, needless to say, pretty pissed about that. And they provided feedback, which is now being included in the article that's on the Escapist site. But they've also taken legal action. And having read I encourage people who are interested in Star Citizen and interested in this stuff to read some of this back and forth. But it really goes to show you that even though you're doing something independently, even though you're raising community money and you're breaking away from the publisher model, you can't, once your business is blown up that big, you can't escape all the sort of toxicity and all the sort of bureaucracy and like they've had all sorts of HR issues and all sorts of like Roberts isn't denying some of the problems that Star Citizen has had, but it's just crazy. Like I'm still tentatively excited for the game, but it goes to show you that there's a lot that goes behind the making of these giant games, even without major studios like EA or Activision that we like to blame for all of life's evils.
Do we know how much he's taken? Like, was that?
Well, no, I don't think he's taken any. Like he's saying, he's not taken anything. He's a rich man, supposedly due to the sale of Origin, which he was one of the founders of, and other things to EA way back in the day. Digital Anvil, I think he sold. So I mean, like the guy has money, and I think he's not saying that. And his wife is an actress, like an aspiring actress, and so she's going away, I guess, to these auditions, and some of these ex-employees are saying, well, she's pretending to work and charging the company and all this sort of stuff. It really seemed petty. He said, she said stuff. And Chris Roberts seems to be engaged in a feud with another gentleman whose name escapes me right now, but it's not even really worth mentioning. But a lot of his retort seems to be saying that the escapist is aligned with this guy, trying to badmouth him. And it does seem a bit like a hit piece. I don't see why they couldn't have waited for his side of the story before publication. But it makes me sad because Star Citizen has really been one of those hopes I've had for games in the future.
I think if they're like, there's no doubt that maybe someone feels maligned and that there's some real bad feelings there over what's happened. But that project has been very public. I think it would be very unlikely for malfeasance to happen on a project that development has been so openly documented. Like, we're not talking like Volkswagen, who the hell knows what goes on at Volkswagen? And yep, there was a big controversy there with respect to passing those EPA tests. But this company has received all its, funding. Well, maybe it didn't receive all of it. I mean, it's got to be a majority of the funding from the Kickstarter. And if they received secondary funding from actual investors, I mean, that's great, but this has been openly documented for the most part, and it would just seem like it would be really dumb. And
that's
people
what
do
Chris
dumb
Roberts
things,
is
so
saying.
it's not. I can't rule it out, but
he's saying that they're doing, like, they're hitting a high mark with regards to transparency and stuff. I think, like, he is an auteur. I wrote a question mark column back when I still did that a while back about auteurs and gaming.
when was like 2 months ago,
I mentioned Hideo Kojima and stuff, and he seems a bit like that. Like he's yes, sometimes
Chris
you have
Roberts
to be
games
fully
are called Chris Roberts games. Like, he has, of the few developers who have auteur reputations, he's one of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I'm sure some of the complaints are legit. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Honestly, I couldn't really give a shit as long as Star Citizen comes out and it's awesome. And that's what I'm a little concerned about, because really, I don't really even understand where it's at. It feels like it should have come out ages ago. It feels like feature creep might be a thing.
Well,
anyway,
it's the Minecraft effect. It's going to be forever in development because they're always adding ambitious, cool stuff to it, which is what makes it great. But if Star Citizen just falls flat, gets the plug pulled on it, we've always got Elite Dangerous, which the upcoming expansion to be able to land on planets. So Sweet. There's stuff going on. We have other options, and No Man's Sky, which is also making the news as well.
The No Man's Sky guy was on Colbert this week.
Yeah, he got the Colbert bump. Now he just needs to come on our show and get the Schwartz Steers bump. That's a double bump.
That's super impactful.
You'll
I
get
hear
2 extra fans. that's how big our bump is. All right, let's move on to the next one. Valve brings Steam sections to GameStop, Game UK, and EB Games. That's right, the landscape of your local gaming shop is going to be changing with a new section dedicated to the new Steambox platform, which is a big step in the legitimacy of, Steambox as a console. So what do you think about this? Are you excited by it?
I sort of think that Steambox, Steam has been moving towards this sort of thing for a while, like with big picture mode and computers. As you know, the computer that I tried to buy was somewhat of a pseudo Steambox. Okay. So I do think computers are becoming more like video game consoles and vice versa. So really, this is not a big surprising thing. But what really is interesting to me is the fact that GameStop is just bending over backwards to find a way not to go out of business in the new digital economy, because they need to find ways to make money. The days of me going into EB Games and being like, oh, what's used and what can I get, they're way behind me. Now I'm always looking on the digital marketplaces, and so they need to find a way to make some money there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's first and foremost, because as consumers, we just look at them as magical game places where you can go buy games and it's cool to hang out. Maybe magical stretching it, but they're just a business. They're pushing product. Like at the end of the day, their chosen product is games, and they look for enthusiasm in games. But it's not like they're, I don't know. I haven't had to go into a physical store since the digital purchasing digital has become a thing. So I don't.
I'll be sad. I'll be sad, honestly, when that day comes.
Yeah.
Like there's the thing with those stores is I always got excited. You go into a store that offers your favorite thing in the world, which is video games. Like it's nice to have those in your house. Like I always enjoy like, oh, what's on sale on Steam when I open the Steam front page. But there was something kind of satisfying about going into those stores. So I really do hope that they stick around. But I know that they have been struggling, and I do give them credit for trying to find new ways of doing business. So hopefully some of this works out for them.
Well, not to I don't have a girlfriend at the moment, but when I've had a girlfriend, and maybe this is why I don't have one.
He's eligible, ladies.
Wait, I haven't finished. I would go to the game and be like, "You shopping? All right, I'm going to GameStop and hang out here until you're done with whatever boring shoe stuff that you're doing." Yeah. So, I think we need those, even if they're just like a play center for, heterosexual males to hang out at. Well, I'm getting into like gender stereotyping. I'm going to stop while I'm ahead, man, because I don't want to say anything stupid. But
I'll go the angry old man rule that it rolled. The last time I was in GameStop or whatever, I was like, it was a bunch of teens, and I felt like I was 100 years old, and they were all on lunch from school or something like that, and I was like, man, I just need to stay home and buy this shit online.
I think that humiliation's part of the reason why online shopping is so big for games too.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm like, I must be too old for this shit, but yet I still want to play it.
Yeah, but our secret's out. We do a show about it, so it's not like we can hide, Crofton.
That's
We're out
true.
there. We're out there. All right. Next up, a Minecraft genius is building Pokemon Red in Minecraft. What's interesting about this, it's not like he's running some other program within a program. My understanding of the article on PC Gamer is that it's being programmed like using the editing, the Minecraft editor. Like this Minecraft thing is nuts. Like it's kind of crazy. Like why wouldn't you just try and program it in a programming language to emulate it as a project? No, this person loves Minecraft so much. He's like the maps are blocks loaded up into smaller blocks, and I have no idea how it's coded, but it's a thing now. Their plan is to fully emulate Pokemon Red in Minecraft. So if you like Minecraft, Pokemon Red coming to a Minecraft cart near you.
It's funny how much people love Pokemon. Like it's crazy the lengths that they go to. Like the whole, Twitch plays Pokemon a while back, and everything with regards to Pokemon. It's like the generation that grew up playing Pokemon in particular, which was like late 90s, around turn of the millennium. They're now totally either game developers or heavy influencers, YouTube streamers, that sort of thing. And so this is just an example of that. It's cool. It's cool. I like seeing old games live on, but it is pretty funny. Let's see how long it takes Nintendo and Games Freak to sue them.
That's always the tough thing about mods. All right, Wildstar goes free to play. It's kind of like WoW, but WoW better. That's how it sort of looked like, where it wasn't the fantasy. It didn't preserve the fantasy aspect. Well, it is fantasy, but that medieval fantasy. It's more like a high fantasy where you have engineers and stuff, but a cartoony feel. And actually, I've seen a lot of people compliment it on the artistic aesthetic of the game, and I hear that the game is fun. But free-to-play is usually the sign of, well, we failed as an MMO. But if all MMOs fail, is it really failing,
Wildstar came out at a weird time, too, like, because it's a new IP, first of all, which is really bold with MMO, especially ones that you're going to charge a monthly fee for.
Yeah.
Like even Star Wars, which is the most eminent IP imaginable, they ended up having to go free to play. I think the age, like 2004, 2005, that was the time, the era of MMOs and with monthly subscription fees, and that time has passed. I think it would have been in Wildstar's interest to launch with a free-to-play model. So hopefully they've managed to integrate it to their game properly. But I really do think it's cool that there are still games that are made that are MMO, like giant online games that are made that are not based on an existing IP, intellectual property. So I hope it survives.
Yep. So it's got all the tropes that you like from game, like MMO stylings, like a game like Warcraft, so quests and raids and dungeons.
Decorate your house, right? Isn't that the big deal? You can do house design or
I don't
base design.
I don't know all the details of housing in that, but it was an ambitious game from what I understand. It's definitely well worth your money if you are looking. It's one of the ones that are up there in terms of quality, but I haven't played it. I keep meaning to try it, but that's the issue with MMOs. Once you get your one or two that you like, it's hard to go and play other ones without having to invest a bunch of time in it. Doesn't worth it.
Speaking of games that have maybe had their glory behind them, the next news story here is about Rock Band. Came out this week. Rock Band 4. And this is honestly a type of game that I'm glad to see is coming back. Like, yeah, the market was saturated. Yes, there was Guitar Hero, Aerosmith. We're all still trying to forget about that. However, there's also, a size Rock Band in particular had a sizable amount of DLC. People invested a lot of money. You'll be able to transfer this DLC to your new game, Rock Band 4. And I think Rock Band is better served as like a platform, sort of like you buy it once, or maybe it's free, except for the instruments, obviously, and you buy new songs and stuff. But anyway, the reviews are coming in. They say the initial track list is kind of weak, but that the game is still as awesome as ever. As a grouchy old man here, I don't know if I could get people together to jam out to Rock Band, but I'm really glad that dorm rooms around the country will once again be able to dust off the plastic instruments.
I had a lot of fun playing Rock Band, and I feel somewhat spoiled now that Rocksmith is in existence and I'm an actual guitar player. I feel like I have a product that more closely speaks to what I'm like interested in doing. I can't go back to Rock Band. But I remember having good time with you guys, just jamming out on the weird, like, the drum kit, the drums that don't make any actual sense than real drummers and all that. And then someone actually singing, so you actually could get a band going. I kind of hope it makes a comeback. I think Rock Band, I think those band emulator games are actually pretty fun. But they're novelty games. There's nobody... That's never going to be a game like a MOBA where people are going to be playing week in, week out, and there's always going to be a reason to make purchases and to have people buying things.
One thing that's funny is that this week they've had, I think it was last week or maybe this week, Tony Hawk 5 came out. Mm-hmm. And I love Tony Hawk, man. And I just absolutely loved that series when I was younger. And I loved Rock Band and Guitar Hero. What do these series have in common? They just essentially were absolutely built, in this case, both by the same company, Activision, to the point of such diminished returns that not Rock Band, rather Guitar Hero was Activision, such diminished returns that we're at the situation where we are now, where they're essentially trying to relaunch them. And I think Ubisoft is learning this with Assassin's Creed and other and I'm surprised Call of Duty's still running the way it is, but like at one point you're going to saturate a market. You got to ease up and then dip your toe back in. I'm hoping that Rock Band will be successful. It sounds like Tony Hawk. I checked out some of the early reviews. Looks like a disaster, so that's too bad.
The world doesn't need another skateboarding game. It's just, sorry. Even if Lil Wayne is a playable character in it, we still don't want it.
I would speak for yourself, man. If they captured the glory of old Tony Hawk, I would be there.
All right. Well, I have another news item. Do you know who Darude is?
Absolutely not.
All right. Well, Darude of Sans. Okay, so go anywhere on the internet that has a comment room or comments or a live chat room, and listen and find a song you really like, and like you're like, man, this song is so good, but you don't know what it's called. So you go to the chat room, or you go to the comments section, and you're like, guys, that song at 2 minutes 45 seconds into the video, what is that song? And then you get a response back, and it says Darude Sandstorm, and you go, sweet. So you go to iTunes and you go to buy it, and it's not it's not the song that you recognize, but rather it's this. And I've got a little sound clip here of Darude to play for you, and you may recognize it.
Do we have to pay for this?
No, we're gonna do a very small amount. Although I accidentally opened up an ad instead of playing the thing.
Damn it, Bo.
You recognize it?
Yeah, I know that song. Is that
That's Darude Sandstorm. So it's like it's an iteration on the Rickroll theme. You know, getting Rickrolled, right?
Yeah,
like,
but is that Sandstorm or is it?
Yeah,
another...
no, that is actually that's Sandstorm by Darude, and so
Cool.
that guy is making a sound pack for Counter-Strike. So speaking of milking these IPs, these esports games, Counter-Strike's now CS:GO has been out for a while. There's still tournaments and things going on like that. They actually hired Darude to make like, when the bomb's about to go off, the sounds are like so if that's your thing, play CS:GO and get yourself the sound pack.
Well, yeah, no, it sounds like something that you would play while playing, listen to while play Counter-Strike, like just like people are ADD playing that game, like your moves you got to be
it sounds
super
like
quick.
Alarms, or if you touch a wrong pad and get burned, it should be yeah. It's the kind of music you listen to when you're getting electrocuted in the shower.
Put that on the back of the album.
All right. What else do we have here? I think you've got a news item about Nintendo.
Yeah, and so Nintendo today, this global brand ranking thing said that Nintendo's no longer a top 100 brand in terms of value. Like last year, I guess it was 100, and this year it's off the list entirely. Companies like Sony, Microsoft, Apple, Google, they're very prominent on the brand list. And the main justification is that Nintendo has not gotten into the mobile game space. For why it got dropped off, and I know that they're going to next year, so maybe they'll get back on. But that's Nintendo's not doing well right now.
So who makes the top 100 list? It was like a firm of some kind, or
yeah, it's a brand evaluation firm. Like here, do you want me to get you the name of the firm? Jeez,
no, I don't need to. Come on, we're not that good of a podcast. I know the level of our reporting has a certain standard that we like to beat, and it's very low.
It's called Brand Consultancy Company Interbrand.
Wow, what
best global brands report for 2015. So
I'm sure you guys do a great job, have great employees with great people. Your name sucks. You should call it Brander. It's like Tumblr. That's what companies do nowadays. Just drop a vowel. Actually, drop all the vowels. Just BRDR or BRNDR. Brander.
Trademark 2015 Crofton Steers.
Yeah, you're welcome. Social media guru Bo Schwartz over here. All right. Well, cool. I think Nintendo deserves it. They've really been dropping the soap. No, dropping the bucket. They've been dropping something, and they're they've got good stuff.
I'd be interested though to know how they rank their brands, man, because it feels like Nintendo was a solid brand. Like if you see Nintendo on front of something, like if it's a game made by Nintendo or something, that probably it's going to be quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Nintendo's got some great brands and they've got great quality products. The problem is that they insist on. They have these weird, principles to their company that are just not adapting to the changing, gaming space of what gamers want and enjoy. They keep we have to have weird machines, we have to have weird controllers, we have to, be behind on technology. I really that shattered me. That Wii, it was inexcusable to me. I will never stop. I'll be 80 years old and railing about how the Wii failed.
But the Wii was super successful. That's the high point of Nintendo's history.
But it's misleading because in the short term they were very successful, but in the long term they've set themselves practices that are that are behind. They're very stubborn in some ways. Where I'm not getting flexibility out of their systems, and I think developers aren't getting flexibility from them, and I think it's hurting them. I think it's like saying I'm only going to rely on myself for everything and not ask for help from anybody. You know, like I think they feel like, you know, their own IPs are what carries them. Their Marios and their Links and their Metroids, and there's not very many outside of Nintendo exclusive IPs that really carry them, unless I'm mistaken. You might know more than me.
No, like I mean, they've always had issues with third parties, right? That's been a big thing for them throughout their history, all the time. I've worked for Nintendo for a while in game promotion, and it was always the same deal. Like they had a hard time securing third parties. And yeah, you're right. They definitely have a culture, a mentality in the way that they do business. And so, if they want to reclaim the glory of past, you know, or keep up with the Joneses for that matter, they can definitely change business practices, make themselves a little more open and flexible. And maybe they're doing that on the mobile space. But I will say that they have, like, the Wii wasn't that long ago, and they did that entirely themselves, you know, like, and they made a ton of money doing their own thing. And I kind of respect them for that. Like, they do their own thing. They make hardware that's a little kooky, and then they make games that are dedicated to that hardware, and they don't fill it with a bunch of DLC, and they don't fill it with a bunch of crap. And if you want to play like other types of games, you got your PlayStation, you got your Xbox, and you got your PC, you can play all that stuff, but you get unique experiences with Nintendo. And I feel like that's a valuable brand identity, but I guess it's not measured that way. It's measured probably in dollars and cents.
Yeah, well, I respect Nintendo's creativity as well. It's not that. It's just, I think the thing is sometimes that stuff works and sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, they're not in the mobile space. That was a reason cited. Why they aren't in the mobile space is beyond me. Their games are the most mobile. Like, if they went back in their old catalog, they've got tons of games that were launched on Nintendo devices that would be great there. And also VR now. Like, I'm kind of like, Sony's like, the PlayStation crew have gotten into the VR thing. Even if it's not successful, they're showing that they're participating in the way that the games industry is changing, like Valve is. And both of those companies, why are they in this? Like, it's an Oculus thing. Well, they want to anticipate what that competition is going to look like. Nintendo's out there eating a lollipop and they'll be like, yeah, VR,
well,
like,
Nintendo's
whatever.
always the company that everybody else copies, and this is the first time that they're being chasing things a little bit. But they're the first ones to develop like the controller that essentially everybody's copied. They motion control as soon as they launched the Wii. Xbox was chasing them with the Kinect. Sony was chasing them with the Move. You know, like whenever they on the portable market and portable systems, like everybody's been chasing what they're doing at all times. I feel like they've been pioneers. And they don't play the Me Too game. They say, we're going to do this and everybody's going to follow us. And sometimes they look like geniuses for doing that. And then other times they look like they're ridiculously out of touch. And I think we're at a period right now where they look ridiculously out of touch. I do know, though.
I like to kick things when they're down.
Yes, for
Sorry,
sure.
Nintendo.
In this case, they are down. And I will say, though, that as soon as my daughter is old enough to play some video games, one of the first video game systems we'll be looking at would be something like the Wii U or something. I recognize that I want to share those characters and those experiences with her. They're just not the experiences that I myself am necessarily going to play as an adult. So I really hope there's always room for dedicated Nintendo consoles. I think I would be sad if we were at the point where I'm playing Nintendo games on other systems. But anyway.
I think so too. I like the idea that other people play Nintendo, but I wouldn't buy it. All right. I think that wraps up all of our news items this week.
Alrighty.
Oh, no, I got one little thing, too. If you love Transformers Devastation is coming out October 6th, so that's probably, when you're listening to this, it's out. If you love Transformers, go buy this, because I think this is going to be, like, the best Transformers game ever made. Yeah.
Bo was a huge Transformers fan.
I love Transformers. I love me some Transformers. All right, but speaking of games we love to play, there's this thing that we do where we talk about the games we played in the last week.
You're always talking about making kids' minds like vegetables. Talk about them out in the street smoking pot.
This is Games Per Minute.
How do you feel about cutting his head off?
Fun.
Cutting heads off is fun, and it's fun when we're playing games where we do it and not doing it in reality, because then it's messy and also very emotionally traumatic. Because, you know,
also murder.
is not as fun as it looks in video games. That being said, we're not here for morality. We're here to talk about what we've played. I've played nothing but Heroes in the past week because I have a new podcast called Core that I do about Heroes. And I'm just generally
Heroes of the Storm.
Heroes of the Storm. So I'm not going to talk about too much here. If you like listening to that kind of stuff, check out Core. But I will be playing other games soon. I think there's a mod for Skyrim I really want to try out. I'd like to report back on it. And also
What is it?
It's a murder mystery mod that's there. And it's made by it's got a lot of great reviews by games industry people, but it's a total mod with original voice acting and new music. But the deal is that it's a murder mystery, and I kind of just like what it's proposing, so I may go in and check that out.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, but let's talk, Crofton, about what you've played, because you've played a game that, as a non-PlayStation owner, I don't have access to that I'm really interested in, called Journey, which won a lot of awards.
Yeah. So so I've been talking about Batman lately, and I still been kind of like I've been on the fence because I've been waiting for that new PC, which God damn it didn't come. So I've been sort of.
Oh, sorry. Shut up, guy from Simpsons. I don't remember your name.
Nelson.
Carl? Nelson, get the hell out of here.
So I've been sitting on the fence about starting something new, and I was doing all the extra stuff in Batman. Honestly, I'm close to getting my first Platinum award in PlayStation. I think, that's one thing I wanted to talk about on the dialogue tree sometime, those like achievements and awards. Put that in the hopper for the future. But anyway, so I finally decided, you know what? I miss this game. Journey that won a lot of Game of the Year awards in 2012, and I felt like it's supposed to be a short game. I'm just gonna spend the $15 or whatever and see if it was worth all the hype. And so it's 2 gigs, which is not too big nowadays. And I played it in 2 sittings, but you can easily play it in one. It's about 2 hours, which is really not that long. Although it made me realize that there might be a marketplace for that, like movie length games that do a certain thing, because like when you're done, you feel like, I had a great experience and now it's over, and that's great. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was, just one great experience. I don't know what the price point should be for those games, but anyway, that's an aside. So Journey was, I wanted it to be absolutely mind-blowing amazing, because all these reviews have been crazy about it, and it beat in now 2012 wasn't a big year for games really, but it beat some of my favorite games for the Game of the Year. And it is an experience, but I thought it was a little bit underwhelming, and maybe had I played it in a vacuum and not been hyped up to the moon, I would have appreciated it a little more. But unfortunately, that's not the way I played it. I played it with everybody on the internet having said what an amazing thing this was. And I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad games like this exist. It's the opposite of games as product. It's like more games as art. You could never imagine Journey having to pre-order a season pass full of DLC for Journey. Like that would be ridiculous. It's one and done product, and it's all about like artistic impact and delivering an experience to the player.
All right, so what's the gameplay like? Like, what is your objective in Journey?
So in Journey you play, and it's funny because I didn't really know this. It's a good question, Bo, because I didn't really know this when I started it. The reviews are kind of mysterious, I guess. You play like a sort of an ephemeral kind of individual under a cloak in the desert. Like, you don't know if it's a man or a woman, a creature, a human, or whatever. Just an individual
so
wearing.
You're gender neutral?
Well, yeah, whatever. You're race neutral. You're whatever. You have no idea. You just see their eyes kind of sticking out of the cloak, and they're in the desert. You start in the desert, and there's this mountain with a light at the top of it, and the whole game is about you walking up to that mountain with the light on it. And at one point, I joked to my wife that it's like press up on the joystick the video game, because like there's just times where you're just holding the joystick and your character is walking and the wind's blowing, and it's like they're trying to really make it feel like it's a massive journey. That's the name of the game. It does do that in many ways. There's no HUD, absolutely beautiful graphics, super well artistically directed. The sand looks beautiful, is shimmering. You can like surf on it when you go down hills. It really is soothing, relaxing. It hits all its marks in what it intends to do. And I don't want to take anything away from it. It's definitely something that I believe gamers that have the $15 in the time should experience. But it's also not something that I would say like, oh, you need to buy a PlayStation to play this game, or you need to, this is by far the game of the year. Or I felt that was overselling it. It's a nice light experience. And I definitely recommend it, but it just didn't reach that next layer of maybe if it stayed longer, maybe if there were more gameplay mechanics, because the only mechanic, Bo, aside from walking, is you're able to jump when you get this sort of like you pick up canvas type material, and it makes your scarf get longer. I know this sounds ridiculous. And then you hit the button, and your scarf will get shorter, and you'll be able to jump and float and stuff. And there are puzzles that use these mechanics, and you're also able to do this sort of shout type thing that allows you to pick up things. It's sort of the interact. There's like an interact button and a jump button, and there's a bunch of light puzzles. And it's not overly hard. It's really about getting from beginning to the end. They don't want you really to be stuck. You can't really die, even though they try and create a feeling of danger while you're playing from time to time. So it's good. Like it's honestly good. It's just I don't know. My expectations were just so high, and it just didn't meet them, and I feel badly for that because
it didn't like touch you in an emotional way. I thought maybe the deal with Journey was that there was some sort of story narrative thing that happened that was very moving. I know you're kind of impervious to a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But you have like you have humanity deep down, but some things maybe just don't reach you.
When I played The Last of Us,
sorry.
When I played The Last of Us,
such a jerk.
Yeah. I know what you're saying though. Like I'm not sappy, and this
you don't like watching the dramas, the cryy dramas. You like the Star Wars and the Spider-Mans.
Well, okay, so
and robots.
The thing is, when I played The Last of Us, which I still think is an amazing game, and when I would compare the two, like often there'd be a list of the best games of the PlayStation 3, and it would be like The Last of Us #1, Journey #2, or sometimes even Journey #1, The Last of Us #2. There's no question. The Last of Us is so much of a huge achievement, better game.
Yeah.
And in terms of emotional poignancy, it really hits you in the feels. It builds up relationships with characters over a long period of time. You experience so much with them, and then it's very powerful. Journey is so short, so you're not able to develop that attachment with your nameless protagonist. There are things that happen in the end. Does try to elicit, I guess, some form of emotion, but I don't know. It didn't really do that much for me at the end. It didn't really, and it's funny because one of the mechanics in the game is it's sort of multiplayer, so you can meet other characters walking around the desert with you. It's only one other person at a time, and there's no co-op puzzle solving or whatever, and you can't talk to them or anything. There's very little interactivity. It's really just kind of this sense of mystery. Oh, you meet another character. But then at the end of the game, when you finish the game, it says, these are the people that you met on your journey. And there'll be like 4 or 5 people that you cross paths with. I don't know. And it was funny because one of the guys I crossed paths with was Mr. Monkey Nuts. And I had just finished this like emotional journey. And it's just like it's rolling the credits, and then it's like, thank you for going on this journey with us. You met these people along the way, and it's like Mr. Monkey Nuts, and I started laughing just because, I mean, it's the narrative dissonance with this emotional experience I just had in this stupid, ridiculous name. But yeah, that's how it is. It's trying to give an artsy experience and an experience that's going to sit with you and last with you. And I know a lot of people have said they've thought about it days and days after they played it. I'll remember the images. Sometimes I wish I could just take screenshot after screenshot. but I'm not going to necessarily remember any sort of emotional resonance it made with me. And the whole time I was kind of on guard for, why is this game so good? You know, when everybody tells you a game is good and you're like, you the whole time you're thinking, oh, this game needs to impress me. And it's an unhealthy mentality. It really is. But when a game's that short, the whole time you're spending it thinking like, why is this so good exactly? Even though you're denying yourself some of the experience, you know, stop trying to figure out why it's so good and just enjoy it. So maybe I'll play it again. It's only 2 hours, but there's a couple of sequences that are really enjoyable too. So.
Ah, well, that's you know what? If you play it again, you should invite me over to your house so I can check it out, because I don't think it's something I'd buy a PS4 for, but
yeah.
But I definitely I was interested in that one. Well, cool. It sounds like you actually at least got to play a game, even though you didn't have your swanky new system, and sounds like you may never have one.
You know, and I bought. Oh, I also just FYI, I pre-ordered the Witcher DLC pack, the first one that's coming out.
All right.
And so I'm, you know, I think the next I'll get back into the Witcher, that when the DLC pack comes out, I could jump, you know, right into it. But supposedly there's a heist out of Grand Theft Auto 4, so I'm excited for that.
I'm gonna say we should rebrand the exclamation mark to the Witcher 3 mark.
The Witcher 3 Heroes of the Storm mark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the Witcher of the Storm mark.
That's what is great about Journey. Like, honestly, I could have spent more time I could talk more and more and more about Journey. I won't, but it's it's a 2-hour experience that you can spend 4 hours talking about. And there's good and bad associated with that, but you know, it's interesting, if anything.
I think it's great to have short games in addition to long ones. There's a couple of short ones that are on my to-do list. Broken Age. I should get around to playing that so we can talk about it too. It's a good one. All right, so I think that covers our games per minute. Why don't we move on to a little segment? Crofton, why don't you tee this one up? What's this segment called?
This is the part of the show where Bo and I have a discussion about a topic that we pick out prior, a topic that is burning a hole in the souls of one or both of us. This segment is called the Dialogue Tree.
Now there's one fine dialogue tree. All right, man, it's dialogue tree time, and that means we're going to debate a topic that's burning at the forefront of people's minds, the gamers' minds, I would say. So, yeah, what's the topic this week, Crofton?
So this week it's one that I've name dropped a couple of times, is season passes.
Oh boy, season passes.
And I know we've talked about DLC previously, but this is not DLC, period. It's the concept of a game selling what has now become known as a season's pass. And that is for a lesser amount than buying the individual pieces of DLC. You get all the DLC for a game, except you're essentially committing to buy it prior to any of it being released and the reviews and all that sort of stuff. So that's what a season's pass is.
All right. A few thoughts up front. First of all, it's been long understood that games, especially from AAA studios, you know, they're still charging $60, $70 for a game. They're going to hold back some of the content, release it a bit later, and charge DLC monies for it in order to increase the price point. Like, this is already a practice. So let's say this is a practice. What is the benefit of a season pass? Well, if you know, like, if I'm super into Mass Effect 3 and I know I'm going to want to see everything, why don't I just give them all my money at once and save a little bit of money and get a season's pass and get it all for, you know, get it all the day and date it comes out and not have to pay more and later. Which, in principle, if you're a deal hunter, sounds great. But in a way, you're gambling. And this is my thought, is that, you know, if it's a long-standing franchise with a company that has a pedigree for its releases, like, I would say Borderlands 3, if it was good, then I'd consider getting a season's pass. But, like, a brand new game that, you know, is doing the season pass thing, like, how do you know it's going to be good? And the reality is, some games, even in established franchises, have had bad releases and bad DLCs. So now I got to buy the good DLCs with the bad DLCs. So all that to say, it just feels like it's very transparently saying the game's going to cost $60 or $70, and we actually want to charge $100 for it. So tack on an extra $30, to get a discount on the season passes, and maybe you like them, maybe you don't. We don't know. And so I kind of have trouble with DLC to begin with. I think I hate season passes.
Well, you made some good points right off, and I do think that season passes are essentially, the idea is to take language that we understand from another medium, which is TV, and say like, okay, what's a season's pass? It's like getting an entire season of a show before the show comes out. So it's like if a new season of Lost comes out, I pre-buy it and I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get new episodes of Lost. I don't essentially know what each episode, the quality of each episode is going to be, but I have a sense of the overall product. And I'm making a bit of a leap of faith. And I think this is really, as part of developers, like, game prices have stayed fairly low, not in Canada, which they've just bumped up, but in the States for so long. They're looking to make more and more money per game, and they're looking to predict that into the future, like to be able to project how much money they're making. So instead of waiting for all the DLC to come out, they want you to lay down money now so that they can go to their spreadsheets and be like, okay, this game is made this much per user or whatever. So I understand the corporate mentality behind season passes, but I agree with you. I also kind of hate them. And the main reason I hate them is because they're selling you something that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get in the end. And I think the big example being tossed around lately is Batman Arkham Knight, a game I just finished. And I actually bought a small piece of DLC for that game recently. But they originally announced the pricing of it for a season's pass, which was, I think, $40, close to the total price of the game. Again, so you're spending like $100 on one game to get the season's pass, but they didn't reveal any of it. And the internet essentially exploded. Said, what the hell? You're charging $40. You're not even telling us what it's going to include. And I can appreciate that. Like they then desperately started announcing stuff. They were caught because I guess they said, well, it's more Batman. You don't really need to know what it is. It's just more Batman, right? But people were like, no, we need to know what it is. We need to know how this is going to affect the game, what sort of quality of product it is. And now that I've finished Batman Arkham Knight, I see that a lot of the DLC in this pack is garbage. It's just useless, doesn't really have any bearing on the story, or the game is short, not necessarily getting great reviews. And some of it is content, especially the challenge modes and stuff that were in previous games that should have been in this game on release. So, I mean, definitely, I haven't been impressed with any seasons past I've seen so far, with the exception maybe of Borderlands 2.
Yeah, I think you make some really good points. I think, like, how many season passes have you ever bought? Have you ever bought one?
I have Borderlands 2. I got a season pass, which they allowed you to buy after. Sometimes they put these artificial restrictions. Once all the DLC is out, you have to buy them individually or whatever. Borderlands 2, I got the season's pass on sale afterwards. This is where it becomes kind of like when all the content is released, say it's on something like Steam or something, and then there's a Steam sale. So you're already getting a discount for buying the season's pass. But you get a sale on that season's pass as well. So then you're getting the discount at a pretty nice price. You're getting the content at a pretty nice price. However, it means that you may get things that you wouldn't have bought otherwise. Like, for example, Bo, you and I, definitely Tiny Tina's D&D adventure we were excited about playing, but we skipped like Hammerlock's Hunting Island or something like that. Like, there was one that was kind of
I still feel like I want to finish that one too. It's like, I'm sure it's good, you know?
That's a testament to the quality of the game, and everything in Borderlands 2 is
like
generally
the
fairly
border,
good content.
Yeah, it's like, because that D&D adventure you're talking, or Bunkers and Badasses, that felt like we got our money's worth.
That was
a very
good.
rare feeling for DLC, I think.
Yeah, yes, but we were able to pick it. You're able to pick it as well. Be like, I'm going to buy this DLC, as opposed to getting it, being like, I wonder what I'm going to get when I buy this season's pass, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you pick the things that you want. Like, for instance, I didn't buy the Batman season pass, but I did buy one $2 piece of Batman DLC, something that I wanted. Now, if one day I see a really cheap Batman Seasons Pass, maybe I'll buy it. Who knows? But but they could have just called it, DLC bundle, and sold it at the end after all the DLC is released. My big issue is the idea of selling it before anything is announced or released, calling it a Seasons Pass, and saying it's going to cost you a shit ton of money. You have no idea what you're going to get from it. And and you announce them well before you announce this game is coming out. It's going to have a season's pass of DLC. And so, save some money for that, or buy it now, or pre-order the season's pass. I'm like, come on.
I like that $30 is a shit ton of money. It's going to cost. It is, though, in the aggregate. The thing is, $30 on its own is not. But if all these games are asking you for $30
on top of the $60 you already paid,
sight unseen, you're blowing like so much money on nothing. And I think I'm in total agreement. I haven't bought too many seasons passes because it's exactly that. I want to see what I'm getting in it. Unless I 100% trust this company, I'm not buying something in advance. Or this.
What's the seasons pass you bought?
I bought Borderlands 2, and you know what? I might have bought the Metro Last Light Seasons Pass. No, did I? I don't remember. That was one I was strongly considering buying, though, because I loved Metro 2033. And Metro Last Light had a Seasons Pass. Let's see if I own it here.
See, I feel like, because as an alternate to the Seasons Pass thing, there's often these Game of the Year editions of games. Yeah. And the PC market often lets you upgrade your existing version to the Game of the Year, or the complete version. Like LA Noire, I have the complete LA Noire with all the extra cases and all that. But I was able to upgrade that afterwards for a couple of bucks. It's not like, however, when the game came out, I think it had some sort of seasons pass. It definitely had exclusive cases to like certain consoles and stuff, which was ridiculous as well. So yeah, these are all part of the new generation of business practices. And I guess like seasons passes, I feel like are going to be a flash in the pan. I really feel that they're going to change the way DLC still going to exist, but I feel that the gamers are going to demand higher transparency.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's buying it in advance. I think there are people out there who are buying it sight unseen, and I feel like they're getting taken advantage of. Because the ultimate thing, like, if you know somebody who's in business, they're going to tell you this regardless, whether it's pre-orders or it's season passes. Them, even if they give you a quality product and you're very happy with the money you spent, giving them your money early just means they earn interest. They're earning a ton of money, right? That goes into a bank account, and that earns them interest. So they get a couple extra months interest. And when the numbers are that big, like, interest on a checking account, you get like a cent or something. Like, it's not. But when businesses do it, they might get an extra couple of 10 grand out of it, and all that stuff adds up. And a lot of these businesses work that way, where they're trying to make those. That could be someone's salary, and that could make a difference in how they figure out whether or not a product gets made, and et cetera, et cetera. So on principle, I'm like, well, I'm going to keep my money. I'm not giving them free interest. Like, screw your pre-orders and screw your season passes. And I think we should all say the same thing. So season passes, I'm all, DLC is a reality. I think extra content is fine. There's pitfalls, blah, 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 blah. But sight unseen part about season passes, bad policy. I think we shouldn't do it unless you're detailing and it's like you're promising you're going to get X, Y, and Z, or, we give you a refund.
And I feel like it should be differentiated from seasonally released games, like Telltale games that are
that's different, I think.
Yeah, it is different. They release these are and it's supposed to emulate a television show type thing and say like, okay, we have multiple episodes of this show, so you could buy the pilot if you want to subscribe for the rest of the season. You can. It's giving a game in morsels as opposed to a full game, which is what Batman Arkham Knight was, a full game, and they found ways to like sort of nickel and dime some DLC that honestly makes no sense with the rest the game and story often. So, but they're just looking to make more money with the framework that they've already created. Anyway, yeah, sorry, Bo, I'm ready to move on to more positive topic.
My verdict, but I just want to say my verdict on Season Pass is that it's season ass.
You've been waiting to say that for like 10 minutes, have you?
I'm so funny. They made a funny joke.
All right. So the next segment, we're going to talk. We're going to just close out the show. Before we get, of course, to Master Game Theater. Don't cry, everybody. We're going to do Master Game. But before we get to that, the sort of last bit of game talk we do is where we give you our recommendations, what you should keep, what you should throw out, or if there's a better way to say it, what would that be, Bo?
It's called inventory management.
And where we answer the question, spend your cash or vendor trash.
Inventory management is a challenging and inexact science.
I'm sorry, Crofton. We forgot to rehearse that one prior to recording. I got my
I
cues all
set
off.
you up to say the line where we answer the question, spend your cash or vendor trash.
Yeah, I just felt like it was time to hear the music, you know? But yes, you're absolutely correct. Spend your cash or vendor trash. The world and universe is an amazing place when the things rhyme. So, you know, recognize. All right. Do you have a recommendation this week, Crawford?
Yeah, I'll go first. We did Master Game Theater last week, and we skipped inventory management. And in it, we did a scene from A Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers, a 1993 adventure game by Sierra Online that I very much loved back in the day. It was a great game, and it was honestly one of the few games that literally scared the shit out of me, especially when I was younger. That said, it was remade last year by the original designer, and so you can get it on Steam, you can get it on Good Old Games. It's about $20, I think, or thereabouts. It's the remake. You know, everybody's always going to say this, no matter if it's a book, a movie, a TV show, whatever. The remake's not as good as the original game. I'll just get out there and say it. However, to attract the new generation, if you will, people that may not have nostalgia goggles on, it may be worth starting with the remake, and if you're really into it, maybe going back and seeing the original. The voice acting cast isn't as good. They didn't have as much money this time around, so in the original,
Tim Curry.
Yeah. Pardon me?
No Tim Curry.
No Tim Curry. No Mark Hamill. No Michael Dorn.
Wow, those two were in it as well? I forgot about that.
Mark Hamill does Detective Mosley, which is, in my opinion, one of his best voice performances, up there with the Joker. He is a gifted voice actor. Anyway, it's still, the remake is really good, and there's a new added scene that I feel really does a good job in upping the creepiness factor at one part of the game. So it's totally worth playing. It's easier on the eyes. The game play systems are a little dated, so you may don't be scared about using a walkthrough if you need to. I think you'll get more out of it if you don't get stuck all the time. But it's totally worth playing. I'd like to see what new gamers think of Gabriel Knight, and so Gabriel Knight remake is my recommendation.
It's the user reviews on Steam are very positive, so it seems like a lot of people like it. I think I want to check that out. I did play the original Gabriel Knight. I remember nothing about it, so I think I should go and play the remake and have some fun.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it. It's just that the new version is just a little jankier, you know, and there's less animations and stuff. Like, for example, the first one's all pixel art. I'll give you an example. Gabriel goes to his grandmother's house, and in the original, he hugs his grandmother when he comes in the room. Yeah. And in the new version, because they're these polygon models, and probably it would cost a lot of money to make them hug properly, they just sort of stand in front of each other, and I'm like, how you doing, Gran? You know, so there's little things that are removed that make it feel...
that is a level of minutia nerd ragedom that, you know,
yeah.
There's a scene where grandmother and Gabriel don't hug. That hug is canon. So you might enjoy the game, but the hug isn't in it. And you can't, if you know the hug's supposed to be in it, you can't play it without the hug.
Hashtag Grand Hug Gate. No,
So that lack of hug is a mark against it.
I'm just saying that the art at the time, like when it came out, it was a AAA PC game, and the remake is not a AAA PC game.
No.
It's a small studio remake, and it uses super high resolutions and good upgraded music and all sorts of stuff, but it's still not as big budget as the older game was at the time, and sometimes you see it. Although honestly, I think if you'd never played Gabriel Knight before, you probably wouldn't be as picky as I am.
Okay.
Hashtag Grand Hugs.
All right. Well, I think it's a great recommendation. So check out Gabriel Knight. I'm going to make a recommendation that I should have made a long time ago. The freaking Banner Saga. Want to talk about a fun game? If you enjoy games like XCOM, turn-based combat strategy, that is the meat and potatoes of the gameplays, are these combats. Except in between them, there is a beautiful story with beautiful artwork, and kind of, I guess it's like, I've never really played Oregon Trail. I think that's the kind of gameplay it emulates, where you're traveling along and things happen along the way. So you might meet a stranger, and then you have to make a decision. And there's an element of like permadeath to it, where like bigger games like Dragon Age and Mass Effect can have choices that cause main characters to die. This is that kind of game where main characters can die or have negative consequences or betray you and stuff like that. So it has an amazing story. It's, I think, very lightly voice acted. It's mostly not voice acted. However, the music is beautiful and the art is beautiful. It's got that is that Bluth? The Don Bluth style of like a little bit of that. It's not Don Bluth, but it just emulates that kind of. I
think he's dead, so that's good.
But I was saying it evokes that kind of cartoon magic world. Like it's adult, but it's cartoon. It's very nice and it's very cool. The good news is you play the Banner Saga Volume 1. Volume 2 is on the way. They've hyped it up at a few of the conventions. It hasn't been the biggest item, so it hasn't made a lot of headlines. But it's one of the more exciting gaming things that's going to be coming out soon. I have high expectations for the second one because the first one was good, but not long enough. And I say that there's a ton of beautiful artwork in it. It's no wonder it's as short as it is, because there's a ton of great art assets in it and music. But I definitely wanted more, so I'm hoping it's just the same for the second one and longer. So if you haven't had a chance to play it, go to Steam or it should be on Xbox and PlayStation as well. I'd have to imagine it's console
I don't
friendly.
think it is. I think it's on iOS only.
Oh,
you can get it on iPad.
All right. Well, let me quickly check here. But it is on
Incidentally,
Steam,
Don Bluth is not dead. That was my bad.
You're spreading death hoax rumors. How dare you? Yeah.
I honestly, Bo, that's one that I've been tempted to play.
Oh, God,
and you have really come out and said some pretty positive stuff, and they have announced, to my knowledge, a sequel. So I really should get off my.
It is on Android and it is on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. So it's a game you could be playing now while you're waiting for your computer. Apparently,
I could be playing it on. Well, do I want to play it on PlayStation? Isn't it better to be playing on the PC?
It's a beautiful game. So I feel like it's not a controller game because it's that XCOM feel where you have to give commands on a grid. So it might not be fun with a controller. So yeah, probably want to play it on a PC. Don't play it on your iOS. I think you want to play that on. Yeah, you're right about the PC. If you could play it on a television with a mouse and keyboard, that would be cool. But it's definitely a gorgeous game, and it's definitely fun and it's casual. So while you'll find the strategy part challenging, it's not a game that you're going to be. It's not Witcher 3. We're going to be spending 100 hours playing it. It's going to be you had the adventure, 10 to 20 hours, and you're done.
That's perfect. That's what I need, man. I want 10 to 20 is pretty long, actually.
Yeah, no, it's long enough, but it's going to go by fast. I think is the sense of it. So I definitely fell in love with playing this game, and it's very basic. It's not very complicated once you sort of get the combat mechanics, and it's got its own lore. It's a fantasy world, but it's not. It's a new fantasy world. There isn't anything I think quite like the fantasy that they're delivering on here. So Banner Saga Volume 1 available on Steam. Buy it today.
Sweet. Well, because I'm about to die due to this stupid summer cold,
All right.
thank you for bearing with me, listeners. I'm just going to move out of our inventory management. Two good recommendations from the two classy gents that command the starship.
You want
And
me to
we
do the
will
rundown
move.
for you, buddy, if you're not feeling super great?
Oh, yeah, do it, man.
Yeah.
Do it.
I don't mind carrying the load if you're, starting to die over there.
Yeah, I'm starting to die. You do it.
All right, so we love taking suggestions for the show. If you've got games you think we should recommend or anything that you think we should say, whatever the H you want, just write to us at exmpodcast@gmail.com. You write it in, we'll read it on the air and respond to you and have a conversation about it. Do you want to find out how you can get a hold of more Exclamation Mark podcast related social media? What's it, who's it's? Well, on Twitter at exmpodcast.com, on Facebook, facebook.com/exmpodcast, twitch.tv/exmpodcast, where we have a live stream Mondays around 8. We usually actually end up getting started around 8:40, but we're disorganized man-children, so that's how these things go. By the way, just a quick shout out to Harlequin_Mayhem in today's Twitch chat room for being a very awesome participant in the live recording with a lot of great suggestions. I just like to give that user a shout out. Finally, we do some other stuff. Crofton and I are also hosts of the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast, where we select a topic at random and debate the topic. That's available at goodbadbull.com. Information there. Finally, if you want to find out more about what I'm up to, you can find me at Bo Schwartz on Twitter. And Crofton, where can our listeners find out more about what's going on with your illness and boogers and things like that?
Well, they can come up to the bridge and speak to me directly, or they can reach me through our Twitter command console at Crofton Steers on Twitter. And I would love to hear from them. Health advice, maybe games advice, stuff on the topics we discussed this show, why they think Gabriel Knight is awesome, all those things.
I feel like there's some IT references that I didn't get in what you were saying. I felt lost. On the bridge?
Because we're on the starship, Bo.
Oh, starship theme returning. I was so ensorcelled by our dialogue that I forgot we were on a starship this whole time.
It's true. It's sometimes the stars just whiz by and they become background.
Right,
I understand.
Let's take a trip on down to the holodeck where we're going to load up the ancient English theater, the Globe program, and do our final segment called Mastergame Theater.
It's now time for Mastergame Theater.
All right. We have an extra special Master Game Theater today because I first discovered this last week, and I can't believe I hadn't heard it till now, but it is one of the most amazing things ever. So it's from Mega Man 8. I feel like it's at a time when Mega Man started to get brought up to date and have voice acting in it, but it is one of the worst voice acting jobs in gaming. And we're going to perform it for you today. And it's probably not going to be as good or as bad as the real thing, but we're going to do it. So, Crofton, you're going to play the role of Mega Man, okay? What you need to know is that you need to just enunciate everything correctly. Mega Man's voice acting is fine. Dr. Light, the other character who's speaking to Mega Man, is the one whose voice actor might have been just somebody's grandfather in an old age home suffering from dementia that they got to record the voice acting for. It's pretty awesome. All right, without further ado, are you ready to go?
I am.
All right. Let me... Just doing my warm-ups. Sorry, guys. All right, here we go. These seem to be energy resources, but I've never seen this type on Earth. I don't know where this energy came from, but we cannot let it fall into Dr. Wowie's hands. You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
But where is Dr. Wily?
That's a good question. We may be able to locate another energy emission from the radar room. When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wowie. Yeah, I think I did a good job. Did you see the original of that?
I just watched it. It's horrible.
It's Like, it's pretty bad. If we find the energy resources, we'll find Dr. Wowie. Like, you can't say Dr. Wowie. What the fuck?
Yeah, I like how it's like, I'm like, is Bo fucking this up, or is that how it's actually written? You know, like.
Well, and there's the part where he says, you must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man, but the voice actor is about to say Wowie again. And it's in the take. Like, if you it's like, you must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man. Like, it's in the actual game that is.
That's amazing.
Up, and I'm like, there's no reason. It's so bad.
That's a good one, man. That you found that. That's a deep cut.
Deep cut. It's
man.
Deep cut.
I'm literally dying. My nose is just pouring snot. Sorry, live stream listeners. We're off the air now, so that's why I'm being really gross.
Yeah,
that was nice of you to shout out to that nice Harlequin Mayhem lady.
Yeah,
she's very nice.
I assume lady because I'm thinking of Harlequin from Batman, but it might have been a dude, so I don't know 100%.
No, you handled it appropriately.
But man, today's broadcast started off real bad. So Ms. Takes, go F yourself, by the way, for the crap you wrote in our chat.
Don't give them credit.
Yeah, no, but still. Did you read what that was? Did you see that when we started?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
All right. Maybe we'll talk about it off the air. I don't want to give them... I want to laugh about it. But anyways, thanks, Harlequin Mayhem, for being a chat room. You're super awesome for hanging out. I hope you gave us a follow.
And to all those who did listen and enjoy, thank you so much. I'm sorry I sound like death warmed over.
It's fine, man. You're a real trooper. Good for you doing the show. Responsible.
I have a mute button, so
responsible young old man. Responsible man, child, young, or something. All right.